Poverty line unveiled, but more work lies ahead. 2 hurt in small plane crash in Sekong. And a landmark phone call between the American and Iranian presidents.
Good evening. Hong Kong now has an official poverty line. It's been set at half the city's median monthly household income. According to government figures last year, that means less than 20% of the people here are living in poverty. As Evelina Leung reports, the chief executive said the problem can't totally be eliminated, but the poverty line will help the government implement policies to help those in need.
Who are considered poor in Hong Kong? According to the new poverty line, about 1.31 million people. That's based on government figures in 2012. The poverty line has now been set at half the median monthly household income of the city's population. For example, a one-person family making less than $3,600 a month and a 2-member household making less than $7,700 would fall below the line. However, the number of poor dropped after they were offered subsidies. For example, one-off subsidies such as the $6,000 cash handout and public rental waiver reduced the number of poor to about 800,000. The government said it would take $28.8 billion to move the 1.31 million poor people above the poverty line.
Based on the statistics that we have analyzed, it is quite obvious to us that the working poor as a category will be a priority area. These are households who are at the moment not assisted by the Comprehensive Social Security Assistance Scheme. Within these households, we find there's quite a large number of children. So we are really guided by the philosophy that we should provide as many opportunities as possible for upward social mobility and to tackle this phenomenon of intergenerational poverty. Then I would say that the working poor households with children will be one of the priorities.
Chief Executive Leung Chun-ying said the problem of poverty cannot be totally eliminated. But he stressed the government has been looking into ways to tackle this issue.
The chief executive stressed the problem of poverty in Hong Kong can't be solved by simply offering cash handouts to those in need. He said the government has been looking into other solutions to solve the problem, such as further developing Hong Kong's economy, which will increase salaries and reduce unemployment.
Lawmaker Lee Chut-yan said the government should raise the minimum wage to help breadwinners take better care of their family. And to help poor elderly people, Nelson Chow of the University of Hong Kong's Department of Social Work said the administration should consider whether subsidies being offered to them right now are enough. Ho Hei-wah, director of the Society for Community Organization, pointed out the administration does have the ability to eliminate poverty. He called for more government resources to fight the problem. Evelina Leung, TVB News.
A private fixed-wing plane crash-landed this morning at the Sekong airfield. 2 people were slightly hurt. The Civil Aviation Department will launch an investigation into the incident. Joel De Silva reports.
It happened at around 10 o'clock this morning. The small private plane, a Cessna 172, overturned on the lawn by the airfield after crash landing there. Firefighters arrived at the scene shortly afterwards. The plane was carrying its pilot and 3 passengers. 2 of the passengers, a man and a woman, suffered minor injuries. The pilot and the 3rd passenger were not hurt. The plane belongs to the Hong Kong Aviation Club, which uses the Shek Kong airfield on weekends. It was removed from the airfield's lawn hours later. Before the handover, the airbase was used by the British Forces Overseas Hong Kong. After 1997, it was taken over by the People's Liberation Army for training purposes. This is Hong Kong's 3rd accident involving small private aircraft in nearly 6 years. Back in 2007, a single-engine, 2-seat aircraft was forced to make an emergency landing at the Plover Cove Reservoir because of engine failure. No one was injured. And in 2009, a helicopter hit a coach at the old Kai Tak airport. João da Silva, TVB News.
Yes, we have too much rubbish to deal with, and now the government wants public feedback on how to do just that. Executive Councillor Bernard Chan, who helped draft the waste tax consultation paper released earlier this week, said step one is to give people an incentive to make waste-reducing lifestyle changes. 90% of Hong Kong residents live in buildings that have management committees, while the remaining 10% do not. They live, for example, in village houses or unauthorised subdivided units. Speaking to TVB News today, the chairman of the Council for Sustainable Development said the 4-month-long waste tax consultation is aimed at figuring out the best way to cover different living arrangements.
I envision that we're not going to have one formula for all. We're probably going to have a different collection method for, say, shorter buildings, buildings without building management. So they might have to actually take their trash to a designated drop-off point.
Many have doubted the feasibility of a waste tax when there's a lack of supporting waste reduction policies and facilities, such as for recycling. Still, Chan said it's an important first step, expressing confidence that these would be dealt with in time for the government's goal to implement the waste tax in 2016.
The whole charging scheme is to encourage people to start to change our behavioral practice. You know, we right now, trash means nothing to anyone because it doesn't cost you anything. So that mentality needs to change. Once we can agree with the charging mechanism, I believe that all the other issues will be somehow sorted out.
He added that active problem solving will invariably bring out new opportunities.
That there could be a new industry that will come up. There may be some intermediaries will come and help you to deliver these things, right? So you never know. I think once you have the system in place, I believe things will happen.
Overseas, and the United States and Iran took a major step toward ending more than 3 decades of icy relations as U.S. President Barack Obama and Iranian President Hassan Rouhani talked on the phone yesterday. The 15-minute conversation marked a clear sign the two countries are serious about reaching a pact on Iran's disputed nuclear program. Alan Booknear reports.
Prior to the phone call, Rouhani held a news conference where he reiterated that Iran has no intention of building nuclear weapons. He also said he hopes the 7-nation talks on Iran's nuclear program will yield tangible results in a short period of time. Then, in his car on the way to the airport, Rouhani's aides placed a call to the White House Oval Office. President Obama got on the phone. Later, Obama met with the media to talk about the call.
The two of us discussed our ongoing efforts to reach an agreement over Iran's nuclear program. While there will surely be important obstacles to moving forward, and success is by no means guaranteed, I believe we can reach a comprehensive solution.
The last direct conversation between leaders of the two countries was in 1979, before the Iranian Revolution that toppled the pro-U.S. Shah and ushered in an Islamic Republic.
The very fact that this was the first communications between an American and Iranian president since 1979 underscores the deep mistrust between our countries, but it also indicates the prospect of moving beyond that difficult history. I do believe that there is a basis for a resolution.
The 15-minute phone call capped a week of seismic change in U.S.-Iran relations. A day earlier, U.S. and European foreign policy chiefs hailed a very significant shift in Iran's attitude and tone during a meeting to discuss Iran's nuclear program. Alan Booknear, TVB News.
The UN Security Council voted unanimously last night to destroy Syria's chemical weapons stockpile, but it did not include punishing the Syrian government if it fails to comply. And because China and Russia have vetoed Western-backed resolutions in the past, this historic vote marks the first hopeful sign towards bringing an end to Syria's civil war. Sonia Altero reports.
All those in favor of eradicating Syria of its chemical weapons were asked to raise their hands, and lo and behold, all 15 permanent members of the UN Security Council did just that.
The draft resolution received 15 votes in favor, so the draft resolution has been adopted unanimously
Resolution 2118 was lauded for authorizing the inspection of Syria's chemical weapons, followed by removing and destroying them by the middle of next year.
Through peaceful means, it will, for the first time, seek to eliminate entirely a nation's chemical weapons capability.
It makes clear that in the event of non-compliance, the Security Council will take action.
All states have to abide by this resolution. All states, including those neighboring countries of Syria who are providing haven and supporting the terrorists.
Is that the Syrian regime is responsible for the massacre of 1,500 people, among them children, which has been condemned by the international community.
Even China's foreign minister was content with the outcome. Wang Yi said he was proud Beijing played a constructive role in negotiating the resolution. The U.S., Britain, and France originally wanted provisions for automatic enforcement if Syria fails to comply. But at Russia's insistence, there is a technicality in the resolution that calls for a second council vote should that happen. The council also endorsed securing a roadmap for Syria. The target date for a new peace conference in Geneva aimed at ending the country's civil war is mid-November. Sonia Artero, TVB News.
China and Japan continued a war of words over the Diaoyu Islands in New York. Speaking at a news conference, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Chinese government vessels were still sailing into waters surrounding the disputed islands known as the Senkakus in Japan. But he said the door to dialogue is always open. Also in New York, addressing the United Nations General Assembly, Foreign Minister Wang Yi said Beijing sincerely hopes to resolve the dispute through negotiation. China has said it will talk if Japan formally acknowledges sovereignty of the islands is disputed. Abe said Japan would make no such concession. And still to come in the news. Greek far-right leader arrested. Locally growing opposition to plans to build a hotel on the Peak. And honouring Pakistani teenage girl Malala Yousafzai.